Welcome to today's episode. We have a very exciting guest joining us. For those of you just joining the podcast, we are GDG Media. We specialize in helping staffing and recruiting agencies scale their revenue. So if you want to learn how to take your staffing and recruiting agency to the next level, make sure you stick around. And if you're interested in a free growth consultation, drop us the word growth in our DMs and we'll be more than happy to set that up for you. Tim, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
So Tim is the president and partner at Career Paths Northwest. Tim, do you want to do a quick intro of how you got started in the space, a little bit about the company, and then we'll hop into some questions?
Yeah, absolutely. So I didn't even know recruiting existed when I got into it. I had been working a retail job in my late teens, and then I actually got fired from that job. So I was on the hunt looking for some new work, stumbled into a recruiting firm, met with a recruiter, didn't have any luck with her, but I ended up meeting the manager on the floor who then gave me a job there. Made my first placement on my fifth day of employment, and it's been my sole source of income ever since.
Nice, nice. Okay, so walk us through at what point did you leave that being an employee to starting your business?
Gotcha. So I'll walk you through that. In 2008, there was a major financial downturn across the world, but definitely in the United States. And so the recruiting firm that I was a part of at that time had just sold to a Japanese company. And the cultures couldn't have been any different, right? So headhunting in the United States was basically, this is my book of business, this is my commission, right? My information. Whereas their culture was a lot more sharing, I think we should say, right? They did like a team song in the morning and whatnot. And so that company quickly dissolved. And during that time, I was looking for work like most of America who had gotten hit by the financial crisis. I got a message on Facebook about 2 years later, so 2010. And the guy who started Career Paths, his name is Andre Taylor, had messaged me and asked me to come in, said he was still recruiting and wanted me to check out what he had going on. 2010, like late 2010, I became a partner in the company and we've been growing ever since.
Nice, nice. Okay. So what makes Career Paths Northwest different than any other staffing and recruiting agency out there?
Yeah, so there's so many different models in recruiting, right? What we focus on is full-time permanent placement. We do contingency searches. Within the contingency search space, I would say there's a few things that differentiate us. One, we're one of the very few firms right now that still uses a cash guarantee. So if for whatever reason our hires don't work out, we'll actually mail the client a check back, where a lot of people are just doing replacement or no guarantees at all. The other one is, I feel bad to say it, but we're far from lazy. We've got real humans. We're using real systems, making real cold calls to people all day long. And so one of our strengths has always been the fact that we're willing to do hard things, right? When someone tells us it's hard, we're like, good. That's to our advantage. Beyond that, we're utilizing a lot of tools internally. We're trying to shrink down the amount of admin time our recruiters spend doing administrative tasks because we believe that the only thing that creates a placement is talking to a candidate or talking to an employer. And so anything that we can do internally to reduce the amount of time they're not doing one of those activities is something that we're continuously doing.
Gotcha. Are you doing that through AI technology, or is that like systems and software? Like what is, I don't need the whole secret sauce, but
No, it's fine. So we're using some automation processes for processing job orders. One of the things that really bogs you down when you have as many searches as we do is writing ads and getting those ads posted. So we use a few automation systems to make that process almost humanless. Beyond that, we're scraping resumes and we're using the information that we're scraping to place in fields on SharePoint so we can better find people. That way, if somebody gives us a search, maybe we've already talked to one of those candidates recently, we want to be able to better find them. There are other tools we're using internally, like ChatGPT, that's tied into our Microsoft Teams. So we have a nice little QA system to make sure it's not putting out anything that we wouldn't want it to put out. But those are the three main programs that we're using internally in order to basically keep people on the phone.
gotcha. Okay. And then are you utilizing any type of technology to acquire new uh like companies, not on the recruiting side, but on the acquisition side?
You mean like mergers and acquisitions or bringing on new clients to do searches?
New clients to do searches.
Yeah, so all of that's done hand-to-hand combat in our organization. We've got people on the phone reaching out. We've tested a couple different models, but we have found nothing to work like the old method of just picking up the phone and giving people a call. And going back to competitive advantages, it's one of the reasons we have so many searches, right? As a boutique search firm in Seattle, I interview a lot of people from the other search firms, and they're always amazed at how many job orders and how many searches we have. They're coming from firms that have 8, 14, maybe 20 searches at the absolute most. And we're consistently running between 120 and 150 searches. And that comes through just
Wow.
pure calling.
Gotcha. Okay. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So I guess, do you have your guys come in that are doing like a set amount of dials a day, or how do you?
Yeah, I wish it was that simple, right? So a lot of our business is dictated by whatever our best candidate is. So one day we might be talking to somebody who's, the lead project manager at a mechanical contracting firm. The next day we might be talking to someone who's the top sales rep in, frozen seafood. And so once you get a candidate that we can would consider to be in like the top 10% of their industry, we call and tell everybody in that industry about that candidate. And when you do that over and over and over again, 5 days a week for 17 years, you generate a significant amount of searches. The main reason is we're only calling people about top tier talent. You're never getting
Right.
a call from a mediocre recruiter calling you about a mediocre candidate. So it really just depends on the candidate that we have. That'll determine the direction that we're going.
So, do you guys focus within a specific niche at all, or are you?
Yeah, originally we started in business to business sales, but we did a great job there. So that started giving us other searches. People would say, "Hey, can you do my operations manager? Can you do my general manager?" So we started taking on a lot of other searches. I would say if I had to generalize, we focus on kind of the hidden economy out here in Seattle. We deal with a lot of mechanical contractors, building material suppliers, construction companies, industrial suppliers. We get involved with programs for recent college graduates. We'll dabble in some engineering. And then we have a massive book of business in commercial insurance, as well as wholesale seafood.
Oh, okay. Are you guys only in the Seattle area, or are you all across the US?
Yeah, physically, we're in the Seattle area, but we've got searches that range across the entire United States. And we joke because Career Path Northwest right now is abbreviated Career Path NW, but we're on the brink of turning the NW into nationwide. So we've had searches out in Florida. We've got searches all in the Southeast right now with some building material suppliers. We've worked with some financial institutions in the Northeast, California, all across the United States.
Nice, nice. Okay. Awesome. And then walk me through. So I know you guys still do a lot of manually picking up the phone cold calling. You said that you've tried some AI and technology in the past. It hasn't really worked as good as cold calling. Um, do you have any insight on what, or I guess why you think that it didn't succeed?
I don't know about it not succeeding. I would just say it didn't produce the level of results that our traditional way has. And if I had to guess at why there was a delta between the two, I think it's because of the instant value proposition that we bring when we call you. We're not calling you to sell you a service. I'm not here to tell you about how wonderful and great I am or how I can beat my competitors. I call you with a candidate today who's ready to go. And so for a lot of employers, that's a great way to engage right off of the bat. And then when they usually see that candidate, they'll say, okay, this is the type of search firm I want to work with, or maybe they're a little bit off and we need to tweak um, the search criteria and give it back to them. But when we call you, we're calling you with like an instant solution. We're calling you with a candidate, usually from your industry, somebody in the top 10, and we're ready to go on call number one.
Gotcha. Okay. And these people that you're reaching out to, are they people who have job posting out there? Or are you just doing random cold calls like to
Yeah,
anyone and
so
everyone?
that there, yeah, sorry, there's a little bit of secret sauce in that one. Okay.
Okay.
Um, so some of that I'll have to keep to myself. But what I
Yeah.
will say is that when we are reaching out to places, if they have a job posting, that can be a little bit of a gift and a curse, right? Because on one side, you're like, oh, I know that they have an open search, and so it's going to be really easy. But on the other side, they're already invested in the search and usually have applicants, right? And so why would I utilize a very expensive third-party resource if I already have, solutions to my problem in front of me? And so, like I said, on one side, it's good because the search is open, but on another side, they're already invested in the search and likely already have some candidates. So usually what we'll do is we'll pull industry specific lists. We'll call in cold. We'll find out who the decision maker is. We'll find the person who's going to be most benefited from hiring this person, and we'll have a one-on-one conversation with that individual.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Awesome. And then how would you say that you're able to keep your talent pipeline so strong? I think throughout this call, you've really hit on the fact that you guys have that top tier talent. How have you been able to recruit that talent?
Yeah, I mean, it's a combination of, well, just resources, right? When you spend an enormous amount of money on advertising, you spend an enormous amount of money on search tools, and then you spend an enormous amount of money on hiring the best recruiters to keep that talent pipeline full, you end up with the best results, right? And so we're utilizing LinkedIn Recruiter. We've got recruiter seats for everybody at our company. We've got Indeed's highest paid product. We've got an internal system that utilizes different software that quickly matches candidates to job orders, that organizes candidates so that somebody you interviewed 8, 9 months ago is fresh, readily available inside your system so that you don't have to rely on your memory. And then we've got good leadership at the company as well, too, right? Somebody is there every single day driving results on our floor. Only one person works remotely. I'm sorry, two people work remotely, and both of them have over a decade of experience, right? So it's a combination of things, but if I had to boil it down to one word, it would just be resources.
Right. Okay. All right. Awesome. And then, how would you say, or I guess, where do you see the future of this industry going? Let's just say over the next 3 to 5 years. How do you see AI and technology kind of shaping this space?
Yeah, so I get advertised to a lot, different AI tools that I could utilize for my recruiting firm. And some of them, I'm curious about some of them. We'll see where they go. One of the newer, cooler ones is that they're actually producing these AI avatars that will find a candidate, interview a candidate, collect the notes, and then give you back information, right? And so I've got some mixed feelings on those. I was talking to a gentleman this morning about this exact subject. I think that until it's able to build like real rapport, it might be at a slight disadvantage. And then depending on your model of recruiting. So if I'm like a captive recruiter and I work for one company and I have one set list of questions that I need to use to screen every single applicant, I could see where that would be a big time saver. But in our business, when we interview somebody, we're doing something called a zero-based interview, which conceptually means that we're not interviewing you for any position. Zero positions are in mind. And that allows us to get the most accurate information, right? And so I'm not sure how one of these AI avatars could really discern, which direction they should go with a candidate after an interview. But if they
Right.
figure that out and that thing gets perfected, then that's absolutely something that I could see companies like ours adopting in the future. Other than that, we'll see how many new job boards pop up, how many new apps are out there for job searches. But at the end of the day, job search has always been the same. It's about connecting people, two human beings
Right.
getting in a room, looking to solve each other's problem.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then sometimes we'll call our guests back a year, 2 years down the line, right? See how they're doing. What goals would you like to see accomplished in your business if we were to sit down 12 months from now?
Yeah, we're working on several different things right now. So, in its origins, Career Paths has been a contingency permanent placement firm, but we are actively working to gain contracts with some of the larger companies, master service agreements. We're working to do some project management, some consulting, even some uh, staff augmentation, payroll processing. And so that's a division that Career Paths is growing right now. We recently partnered with a man named Tim Mazur, who owns a company called Tailored Resume Services up in Canada. And he's doing essentially white label resume services for any candidates or people that want to come to our company and get their resume made for them, right? We don't do that at the recruiting firm because we don't believe that you should turn a candidate into something they're not, but we definitely want to have that resource available for people. I'd like to see my staff size grow by twice as many. We're at 11 right now. Would love to see us at 22. And then internally, we've got some financial goals that I won't share here, but me and Andre are dead set on accomplishing.
Nice, nice. Okay, awesome. And then hypothetically, let's say I was to give you a magic wand to fix one thing in your business directly, so not including like the economy or any external factors. What would that one thing be that you would fix that's either holding you back or slowing you down from reaching those goals that you just listed?
So Washington state taxes are not going to be a good answer here then, right? Because
No.
that's absolutely the number one thing that I would get rid of is the state taxes on the business. Um, it's a little bit of a paradox in that I need good people. Our business is really, really, really tough. And there's no college course on our business, and there's no major organization out there doing exactly what we do that's just churning talent. And so, paradoxically, the same problem we solve is the same problem I have. I need good people who are interested in this business, who are interested in growing, who want to become headhunters or recruiters or executive search consultants, whatever you want to call us. And so I would say simply finding a lot or an abundance of good people who are ready to come on board and help us with these searches. I've got more searches than I can handle, so I need good
Right.
people.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Awesome. And then if you could give one piece of advice to anyone who's looking to start a staffing and recruiting agency in today's day and age, what would that be?
Yeah, get yourself some health insurance with some good mental health coverage because you're going to need it. I would say that my first year in business, I made $19,000. So an absolute brutal year. So you're going to want to be financially prepared to go through that. I think that you are going to want to be able to split your days into essentially two boxes, if you will. You're going to need to do the actual recruiting and revenue producing activities during the day, and then the business building will need to occur at night, especially if you want to hire employees and you have to start looking at putting desks in, putting together compensation plans, processing payroll. There's just a lot that goes involved. So I would say have some finances ready. I would say be ready for a very, very tough first couple of years. Be patient, but most importantly, stay on the phone. Stay on the phone.
Right. And what type of personality traits, or I guess what type of person would you say you need to be to get into this space?
I think there's a lot of different personality types that do well in recruiting. And I think it comes down to how well you can match what you do to what this is. So, for instance, the woman that got me trained up and ready to go, she actually came from a production facility, a manufacturing line. So, in her mind, it was just next, 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 right? Interview the candidate, get them out of the door. And she's to
Right.
this day still one of the top producers in Washington State. Where me, I would say my interest comes from a combination of sales and psychology, right? I love understanding why people do what they do and kind of looking at patterns, behavioral patterns to determine what's next. But at the same time, I'm in love with sales. And so when you combine those two, you find recruiting to be enjoyable.
Right. And then outside of staffing and recruiting, have you ever dived into like another industry? I know a lot of entrepreneurs sometimes will have success one place and then they start to diversify a little bit.
Man, yeah. So in my past life, I owned a management company with Andre Taylor, same guy that started and founded the recruiting firm that we're with, and that was birthed out of necessity. We had somebody in our circle that was doing really well as an artist and needed some sort of company to back them and have a business behind them. So we owned that. Prior to that, I think I was the youngest. I might have been the youngest salaried manager in the history of Best Buy. They foolishly gave me store management positions at the age of 19. And so I was in retail for a good 4 years before I had ever gotten into recruiting. And then as far as other businesses, we dabbled with the job site, a job aggregator. Um, We've built a product that's like a workbook, if you will, essentially a playbook or a guide on how to find a job, essentially searching for a job, utilizing the information that we've gained as headhunters over the past 17 years. And then as far as the future is concerned, I'm open to anything that is interesting and helps people.
Right. Okay. All right. Awesome. And then I guess just as an entrepreneur in general, being a business owner myself, I think it's very easy when you own a business to always chase the financial goal, right? Everyone, you're always trying to hit that revenue goal, that financial goal, and it's always going to increase. When you hit it, you always want to hit that next one, right?
Right.
How do you separate the I guess the financial motives from just your personal motives and like again, I feel like it's very easy to get caught up in the financial side of things. So how do you separate the two and how do you stay motivated on the personal side?
I would say that I don't separate the two. To be candid, I think they're all one, right? I think that when you deliver excellent candidates and you're better than your competition, that is measured by revenue, right? And so if you're looking at how good of a job we do, we can only measure that by financial performance. And so I'm not sure that they are actually separate. When it involves, my personal life, I have got a lot of goals in my personal life, but most of them are going to be funded by any money made through Career Path Northwest, right?
Right.
And so in my mind, it's all the same, right? If we continue to show up, do things the other people aren't willing to do, interview candidates in ways they aren't willing to interview them, and call companies people aren't willing to call, we're going to make more money. And those extra dollars can then fund all the stuff I want to do in my personal life. So I don't
Right.
separate them.
Okay. All right. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
I don't know
That's
if
a
that's
good
good
answer.
advice,
That I
right?
like it. No,
Yeah, I don't know
I
if that's
like
good
it. I
advice.
like it. Usually people go a different route with that one. So that's good. I always like when I get new answers on these shows for sure.
I'm just
Um,
being honest. Yeah.
yeah, no, I appreciate it. That's what it's all about. So have you ever looked into implementing like a pay per performance model? Sometimes, we talk with staffing and recruiting agencies that implement something like that, or is that never
It's
heard
an
of?
excellent question. So I'm never going to say never, right? A good search on good terms is something that we're always going to accept. But to this date, we've never done it. But
Okay.
I did just hire two people at my organization that are absolutely thriving. And both of them came from firms that only did retained search. And they hated it, right? Hated it enough to switch firms and come over and jump on board with what we've got going on. So I don't want to say no, but it's something that we haven't done yet, and we have no immediate plans to do. And some of the reasons for that is we don't want to be locked down to a search. So
Right.
if you have a client says, "Hey, I need a left-handed heavyweight from, Spokane Valley, and I need him to be specifically proficient in this skill," and you're stuck looking for that person for 3, 4 months, there's a big opportunity cost because we meet a lot of really good people. And so I want to be able to jump on the phone and tell other people about those people and generate more money. So, short answer, no.
Okay. And
Yeah.
then how would you say the main way is people that find out about you? Obviously, you listed off, that you invest a lot in all those different softwares and tools. Has like SEO or sending emails or anything like that ever
Yeah.
contributed to any?
Of course. So we've got an SEO campaign, right? Whoever handles our website and deals with our back end is always looking at different ways to get us higher ranked on Google. We've got all the resources to find candidates, but after 17 years being in an industry, 8 different industries, right? It's a relatively small space. People have heard the word career path so many times because we have made so many phone calls, right? And so it
Right.
ends up converting into word of mouth. And so we get a lot of referrals. People find us on the website. Maybe people will find me through this podcast. They'll find us on social media. We'll find them on a direct phone call. So there's a lot of different ways people hear about career paths.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Do you want to do a quick outro? Let people know where they can find more information on you guys, how they can reach out to you, the company.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so if you guys want more information on my company, you can find us at careerpathsnw.com. I'm available on LinkedIn. I'm Tim Murphy. I'm listed as the president and partner at Career Paths Northwest. My business partner, Andre Taylor, is also always open and available for conversations as well. We're not heavy on social media, but feel free to send us an email or look us up on the website, and we'll help you in any way that we can.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you again, Tim, for hopping on. As always, anyone listening in who owns a staffing recruiting agency looking to scale their revenue, make sure you drop us the word growth in our DMs, and we'll be more than happy to set that up for you.